Thank you, Brinky, for building this. I think.
Pleasure.
How much time did it take you?
A few days.
Okay, let's keep it on 21 days then.
Yeah.
But amazing, yeah, thanks. And it's really nice to have that in the decor now. And then later on we will all play. That will not be on the live stream.
Yeah.
So today at Bitcoin Eindhoven, I think we are with a little bit less big crowd this time. It looks like we are with, I think, 25 people approximately. It's summer holidays have started here in the Netherlands, so it's a bit less busy.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ton didn't get any questions beforehand, so I prepared some things in my head, but let's see if all comes out. So Ton, welcome and thank you in Eindhoven. Actually, all the payments over the last year we did here went via your portal.
Yeah, they went via Lightning Checkout indeed.
Yeah. So let's say a year ago, how many shops, how many places did you have?
A year ago?
Yeah.
A year ago it was, I think, 15, maybe 20.
15, 20, yeah? And now?
I think 65, and in total they have 85 products. So some shops like yours have the POS and the web shop, and some parties also have donations. So some merchants have multiple products, but I think there are now 85 or 98 active products.
Okay. So just to come back a little bit, because now you already talk directly about products. So when you started, what was the idea actually? What did you want to build?
Was no idea. The guys from Bitcoin Focus, they had a problem. They wanted to launch a newsletter, and they want to introduce paywalls. And they asked me if I could help them with implementing that. And along the way, I started the implementation and had a lot of discussions with them on how it could work. And at a certain moment in time, I thought, I do it once. Yeah, there will be more demand for it in the future, so let's build it right away. In a decent way. So that's the start of Lightning Checkout, and all the products after are an evolution of the company. So to say.
When was that?
I think they launched 2 years ago, so that was also the launch of Lightning Checkout.
Yeah.
And then it grew very slowly, and I think a little bit more than a year ago, the growth starts increasing.
Okay. Yeah, so I actually liked it because I remember when you launched it with Bitcoin Focus. So what it was you had online articles, and you could read a part of the article, and then when you would pay a little fee in Lightning, directly the article would expand. So you could read the full article, which was really quick, and it worked really great. So it was like quite impressive what you built already, and that was the start basically.
Yeah.
But that was such a niche product that I was thinking like, okay, this was built, I think it was a lot of effort, this will never be big in that sense. You don't see many people that are willing to implement this, so.
Not yet indeed.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe in the future, but that was the start, right? And then I saw that you got into a famous Dutch podcast. And that was also when you basically launched a web portal at that point, approximately. So web shops could actually, with one click of a button, integrate your payment solution.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of traction from that podcast in the Netherlands? Or
Yeah, I think that was the start of the increase.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I think I only had I had the POS and the web shop functionality. But it caused a lot of phone calls and a lot of requests for information, and also several new customers. So yeah, that podcast really speed the process that I'm sure of.
Okay, yeah, that was the time that you could spend more time on also developing it further.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and then what is the backend? Because do you run your own servers, or how does that work?
Yeah, I run everything by myself in the data center.
Mm-hmm.
So I run a core Lightning node, on top of that an LMBits instance, and on top of that I built the portal to make it easy to understand for merchants. What were the transactions? What was the transaction value in Bitcoin? What was the transaction value in euros? Because they need that for their bookkeeping.
Yeah.
So that's it, I think.
Yeah, and then the bookkeeping comes quite easy, right? So you can actually just file an Excel, or what comes out of it, or how does that?
Yeah, you can. You have all the transactions and
Yeah.
all the conversion ratios in the portal, but you can also extract all transactions in a CSV or mainly in a CSV.
Yeah, and then I saw that you also, because there were some requests from bookkeeping software where people wanted to send bills from this bookkeeping software and then also have it paid in Bitcoin. So then you integrated also a link there. Which software packages did?
Yeah, I integrated Moneybird.
Yeah.
And there's a full integration of Moneybird. With the solution we provide. So basically, when you create an invoice in Moneybird, then under the hood there is a link created, which you can automatically put on your invoice. You send it to your customer. The customer clicks on the link, and then the Lightning or Bitcoin invoice is shown, and the customer can pay. And when the customer pays, there's also feedback to Moneybird that the invoice is paid, and it's marked paid in Moneybird as well. So
yeah.
that's and when a customer pays the invoice in euros, then also we get a signal and we mark it as paid as well. So you don't have any pollution in the portal as well.
Okay. And then are you planning to do that with other software packages? Because Moneybird is relatively large in the Netherlands, but
the Exact interface, Exact
Yeah.
Online interface is partly ready. So the part that's triggering the creation of the Bitcoin invoice, that's ready. So you can put a link already on the invoice. But the feedback is a little bit harder to implement. You need specific skills within Exact and also some accounting rules. So I decided to leave it as is and to launch it in the way it is. And if there is a customer that wants to use it, we can develop it further.
So how many customers do you have for Exact now?
For Exact, 0.
0 still?
Yeah.
Okay, so nobody is implementing any payments in that sense with Exact in the
No, but
Netherlands yet?
it was only, I think 2 weeks ago that I put it on my website.
Oh, it's 2 weeks ago, okay.
That's ready, yeah. So, and I didn't make a lot of noise on it.
Okay.
And next to that, the next integration we are planning to do is with QuickBooks.
Okay.
It's a major accountancy software worldwide.
Yeah.
So I hope to see if that will give some traction as well.
Okay. And how does that work then? Is there an open API where you can work with?
Yeah,
with,
they all
QuickBooks?
work kind of the same way. You authorize once that we as Lightning Checkout are allowed to receive all invoice data from your system, and then indeed via APIs everything is exchanged.
You can communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes it easy. Okay, and then the plan is to launch this in that sense more internationally, right? Because your plugins work on WooCommerce or WordPress or whatever that's generic. Then if you have QuickBooks or bookkeeping, that would also work. The POS is already working, so people can also easily implement that.
Yeah.
And it's all in that sense web-based. So so it's just people can use it anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, Bitcoin doesn't have any boundaries. So
and then the question is like, where do you differentiate from just a wallet on your phone then? Because everyone can use a wallet on their phone, but
it's mainly the ease of use for merchants. They don't don't have to think about accepting Bitcoin. They set it up once, and then on every invoice, for example, there is a link that can be paid by Bitcoin. So that's a little different than a wallet. Or I misunderstood your question.
Yeah. So the question is indeed like for if you want to accept payments, you could just use a phone and put a wallet on it, and then you can just accept payments, right? But if you are indeed a merchant, then you have the issue of you need to have a dedicated phone there,
And you need to trust your employees.
And you need to trust your employees that they actually do that. While with you, the payments come basically through the portal into the wallet of the merchant, let's say.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. And is it then directly paid through, or how does that work?
Currently, we pay out all Lightning invoices. We pay out once a day.
Yeah.
So in the morning, we pay out all transactions of the day before.
Yeah.
And for the on-chain part, so in the web shop or in the Bitcoin invoice solution, there it's paid via XPub, so it's directly paid to the merchant's wallet.
Okay. Yeah. So on-chain is basically directly always from the
Yeah, I don't have any control of the funds.
It directly goes through, and then the Lightning payments go through your node. So you do the channel management, let's say on your own node, where you then make sure that there's enough liquidity for the merchants to also be able to have all the payments received.
Yeah, indeed.
Because in general, I think that's also one of the critical things with Lightning, right? That you need to have sufficient capacity in your channels if you have a lot of volume going through.
Yeah.
That you need to make sure that you manage these channels properly.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So, if this scales up quite rapidly, how do you see this? Because you would really need to scale, right?
I have the assumption that the price of Bitcoin will increase with the adoption. So also with the demand for my solution. So in that sense, I think we could scale with the current, amount of Bitcoin that is in our node, because we also pay out every day. Yeah. So I have to manage one day of liquidity. Yeah.
So there's only one day of settlement, let's say.
Yeah.
But in that sense, the question is then if that volume increases a lot, then you would basically need to put in more Bitcoin, right? Because if it grows more rapidly than the Bitcoin price, then it becomes more difficult, right?
Yeah, then indeed. Or I can decide to pay out on a higher frequency, or certain customers pay out on a higher frequency to make sure that the channel management is still
balanced.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. And then so towards the future, you think your standing solution is in that sense robust enough? And it's also decentralized, right? So if I would come to you and say, okay, I want to take it down, then I can't really take it down, right?
Not at my place, but if you go to the data center where the stuff is running, then you could take it down, but it can be easily spin up in another data center again, and because it's now running on in one place. Yeah. But it can be run in several places.
Is it in that sense open code what you made, or?
No, the portal isn't. But I use several open source components that everyone can use, and that's also my philosophy. If you can do it by yourself, please do so, and only use my solution if you don't feel confident in doing it yourself. Yeah,
so you actually contributed to LNbits, right? On several parts.
Yeah. I do some open source work indeed, but the portal isn't. Maybe in the future. I don't know.
But someone who is tech savvy in that sense can easily copy what you are doing here.
Yeah, everything is open source, so except for the portal, that makes it more easier for merchants to understand. But if you spin up your own node and you spin up an LNbits instance, you have also a very nice point of sale terminal already. Okay. And you can also use the WooCommerce plugin that's provided by LNbits already. So most of the things are indeed open source and can be used by everyone. Only the Bitcoin invoice part, where you have the connection with the bookkeeping software, that's all custom made. But also there, they are all APIs, and it's an API you speak to, and everybody who could program some code could make it.
So basically, you're saying everyone can copy what you're doing.
They can. But perhaps they don't have the knowledge to do so, because I'm already working on these kind of developments for several years. So
it's easy.
It's easy. you have to learn some things.
For you, it's easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody copies this and then let's say markets it better, because I don't think you spend a lot of marketing, or
no, that's not really my thing.
no. So they could basically take your entire market, right?
Yep. Yeah, they could.
Yeah. So why don't you spend more time on your marketing?
I'm not sure if merchants are already ready for it. Because when you speak to merchants, then you see they don't really see the need for the solution. So you can put a lot of effort and a lot of money into the marketing part, but I think it's too early for that. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, why is it too early?
Because there's no demand for it from merchants, at least not on the Dutch market.
Yeah, but is then the problem that people are not willing to pay with Bitcoin?
I think that's part of the problem. I think Bitcoiners in general should try to pay as much with Bitcoin as possible.
Yeah.
And don't think that's currently the case.
Yeah, so that was actually nice, because we were just standing at the bar and one of the guys here said, no, I never pay with Bitcoin because I want to hold my Bitcoin, you know, like I want to hodl as much as possible, so I don't spend my Bitcoin. So how do you react to that? Or
buy a little specific for spending and do it, fill it up once it's your wallet is empty, and do it that way. I think that's then you keep your stack, but you still support the network and create demand for it. Because if you keep sitting on your Bitcoin, then I don't think we will make it in the end.
So it needs to be used.
Yeah, I think it definitely should need to be used.
So and now so let's say that the use of Bitcoin is of course going more rapidly abroad. So we see certain countries where Lightning adoption is speeding up quite rapidly, because the currency is not as stable. So in that sense, Bitcoin is quite stable. If someone goes to your website and asks you, okay, I would like to use your plugin, is that possible, or how does that work?
Yeah, they can contact, and then we can arrange the solution. This morning I was in a call with a Dutch guy who is living in Indonesia, and we didn't know each other, so it was more of getting knowing each other. But he is planning to see if there are possibilities there to launch such solution in Indonesia.
Okay.
And so we did some brainstorming on what the logical next steps could be, because Bitcoin in Indonesia is at a very low level. The knowledge is at a very low level, and the use is at a very low level. You see it on BTC map. I think there were not even 20 merchants
in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
so that's
not
very
much,
no indeed. So, but there is a huge market. So we'll see how that will develop in the future.
Okay, yeah. So in that sense, it's a worldwide thing. So you could use it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you would be willing to then, let's say, onboard 4 different markets.
Yeah.
And would it be named then the same? Is it then Lightning Checkout always, or is it then specific?
Yeah, we didn't discuss anything about that kind of things, but it could be both. We could put a different label on the portal, and then it has another name, and then it's the white label. We do it already for Bitcoin Tops. Yeah. They have their own branded portal.
Oh, you're wearing the shirt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that actually then?
A few guys developed a Bitcoin beer tap, and I provide the payment solution behind the beer tap. So you can pay with Lightning, and then your beer is tapped. Or they were at a conference in Switzerland last weekend, and they also sold absinthe via the taps. So could be also.
Everyone was really drunk, or what? How much is the percentage of the absinthe? It's like super high, right?
Yeah, I think 40 or 50%. I don't know, but
okay, yeah, so
that's what I remember.
So a lot of Bitcoin was lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's about time for some questions. Do you have something you would like to conclude from what you've built in the last 2 years with the growth you're seeing before we...
I think when I look at the growth, then the number of merchants isn't growing that hard, but the number of transactions per onboarded merchant is increasing. So that's, I think, at least the first step.
Okay, so it's growing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So then we have a new mic this time. Thank you for all the investments. We're getting a little bit more professional. We try to, every time. So who would like to ask some questions about Lightning and how Tom does Lightning checkout? Yeah, I see a couple of hands. We start there in the back.
Okay. So I have several questions actually, but let's start with the most difficult one first. There will be very difficult legislation in the EU coming. How will that affect you?
Yeah, it will definitely affect me, and we are currently investigating in what solutions is the best for us. Mainly the Lightning part will be the hardest, because one of the legislations is that is the travel rule. So we need to know where the payment is coming from and where I send it to. I send it to the merchant, so that's not really a problem. But I don't know where the money is coming from, and that's it's technically not possible to know where the money is coming from. So that will be a hard one for all Lightning companies, I think. So, but there's no solution.
And this is indeed a very interesting question. So technically under the new legislation, the travel rule demands this, but technically it's not possible. So if you look in the VBNL website, you also see that the technical difficulties with the legislation that is coming is that it's technically just not possible. So there are some demands that technically cannot be fulfilled. So let's see how that then is being implemented, because it's just not possible. So that's quite an interesting thing, right?
Yeah, I think
so. That's a good question.
Yeah, I think interesting period is ahead of us as from the 1st of January, because there are several products in the market like Wallet of Satoshi or Blink that, based on the legislation from the 1st of January, can't exist anymore. But the question is, do they shut down, or will they fight the fight, so to say?
Yeah, and I think we already see a little bit of this in the US, right? So a lot of these wallets already pulled out, but some wallets are still available, and in that sense you can always sideload. So the interesting part is the European Union is doing two legislations. You have the legislation on the travel rule, which is very strict, but also the legislation that everyone has to be able to sideload also on the iPhones. So that basically means that you can sideload anything, any app or anything on your phone, which make the payments easily possible again. So, and what you also see is that it's not only the native apps, but like your solution is web-based. So if the server is basically not here in Europe, but it's somewhere else, everyone can still access it, can still access all the all the ways of these payments and all the services, but it's just in a different jurisdiction. So it's very difficult to legislate this anyway, because you can't really block it, let's say, in that sense. So that's going to be a rather interesting interesting time from next year.
I also had a question. Thank you for the presentation and the answers so far. So my question was more about, if you have like a web shop, your payment system needs to be very reliable, right? I thought you were one person, but you're also talking about we. If you get a potential new client and they ask about your reliability of the system, how would you answer that? Like, what are the risks that it's like down for a longer time? Because we know that in e-commerce, it's they will definitely go to another shop if a client cannot do their payment, right? So it's easy to lose customers.
Yeah, there is no we, so it's only me. So that's, I think, basically also the answer to your question. It all depends on me, but up until now, the last 2 years, I didn't have any unplanned downtime. And when I do some upgrades on the node, for example, I first switch to a backup solution, make sure that's running, and then do all the updates. So that's my answer to that question in that sense. But it still relies only on me. But the size of the company is too small to rely on other people on other people's.
You had more questions, so you can go first, and then we go to this one.
So you mentioned that people should pay more with Bitcoin, which I fully support. And you also refer to BTC Map, which is a nice website, but it's really aimed at physical places to spend your Bitcoin. And you mentioned that you already have 65 customers. Do you have plans, or are there any ideas that are just lists of where you can spend it online? Because that is, of course, the most obvious use case, but it's actually, in my experience, the hardest to find where to spend my sats online.
Yeah, I think BTC Map is working on an online part as well, but they currently rely for the physical shops on OpenStreetMap data, and there is a rule that all data on OpenStreetMap should be verifiable, and then you can't add any web shops, because you need a physical sign on the outside that the shop is there at that location. But I know they are working on also adding web shop functionality to BTC Map, so you also have all online merchants listed there.
But you have no plans, for example, to put them on your website yourself? Or?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Perhaps I should do. It's a very good one.
Okay, we have a question also here in the front.
Yes, thanks. I also was in the impression that there was a we, but that doesn't matter. It's interesting. Again, on the downtime or that topic. Can it cannot be a threat that someone does a DDoS attack or something on the server, or how can you make sure that is there not a decentralized way to implement such a thing? Or
the plan I have is the solution I made is really easy to split and put up in other data centers as well. So it can be easily made more decentralized if needed, and also if, for example, we are going to work in Indonesia, then it will be a local data center there anyway, to make sure that the speed is also good. And next to that, we have some technical measures in place to, if we once face a DDoS attack, for example, then I hope we can manage it. But yeah, up until now it didn't happen. It can happen, and then we'll see how the systems will react on that. But yeah, there is no real test yet in that sense.
We are live now, so let's see.
Sorry?
We're live now, so let's see.
Maybe another question. How many competitors do you actually have? Do you know that? Do you investigate the landscape of?
Yeah, I look for you in Europe. There are not that many that I am aware of. In the Netherlands, we have, of course, Bitkassa. You have in Switzerland, SwissPay do something alike. I'm not sure if OpenNode is European or somewhere else in the world, but that's a party who delivers the same functionality. And you have some companies in the US as well. So there are in eBEX. So yeah, there are definitely competitors in the market.
It's actually what I find interesting. I think I have it. Is SwissPay? That's already quite a while ago. I think it's this one, Swiss Bitcoin Pay. They give out Lightning cards. So the thing is, their nodes are really well managed. So the thing is that you can then there's just two QRs on the back, which say like deposit and balance. So you can check your balance and you can just deposit Lightning there. And you deposit it, of course, on their node, right? It's basically similar as wallet of Satoshi,
Yeah,
let's
it's
say.
custodial.
But it's custodial. But in that sense, you could do a similar thing because you just have the node. People could just deposit and then have a card and then just pay everywhere, with the card.
Yeah.
And that's.
But then you have to manage the funds of the users, and that's not something I want to sleep at night. So I don't want to have the responsibility for those kind of funds.
But you see that indeed that's what Swiss Bitcoin Pay also implemented.
Yeah.
So they not just do the payments, but they also do the payment cards. So they went quite far on this. I think.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Hi Tom, we know each other a few years now. We've had this discussion before, but maybe for a bigger audience, how do we onboard more merchants? Or shouldn't we bother, should we put our efforts into other stuff? Because sometimes it's like, trek aan een dode paard.
Yeah. I think the approach of going to a merchant and have a talk with him is can be working, but it's quite time consuming, and you don't know upfront if he is he or she is interested. So I think the best way to do it is do presentations in organizations where multiple companies are collected. So you can target a lot of merchants with one presentation and see if that's if you can get more traction that way. That's something, for example, what Bitcoin Delta also tries to achieve. Is make a Bitcoin business club to collect the merchants in meetups, etc.
Okay, but then you already assumed that the merchants are the people who are interested and they know what Bitcoin is, and they maybe already know that there's something wrong with the fiat system. So isn't it maybe better to try and broadcast what's wrong with the fiat system first, instead of going straight to, well, I'm offering a merchant solution, where they're thinking, well, yeah, but
I think when you approach a merchant, then you must not start with Bitcoin and the solution you provide. You must first make sure they understand they have a problem, and that's, at least for the Dutch merchants, very hard, because they have a very decent payment system, so it's hard to convince them. And you see that currently almost all of my customers are somehow already into Bitcoin before they start accepting it.
Yeah, you're in the wrong country.
And this is actually interesting because I saw some bigger marketing in the US companies who are also doing payment solutions on Lightning, and they are basically saying you need a parallel system for your payments, because your current system that you have there, your credit card based system or your current payment system that we have here in the Netherlands, sometimes doesn't work. And that's of course what we have seen already in the Netherlands also a couple of times. The payment system breaks. And then there's a lot of shit because nobody's carrying cash anymore in this country. So you want this parallel system in your hand, because you can just, your entire country can just keep on paying everything, because it's on a decentralized network instead of a centralized network, which is at high risk of failing. And this is actually actively being used as marketing, let's say, in the US already. And we don't see that anywhere in the Netherlands yet. But I think it would be interesting to have a parallel payment system, not only focused on the current centralized part where we actually have a risk there. Right? We've seen it a couple of times already. So there is something there, but that's not where we would like to market, because it's in general better, right? Yeah. It's just a better solution. It's not just like we want this as a backup, it's a better solution. Yeah.
Yep.
We have a question there.
Yep.
How would you pitch? How would you pitch the merchants to give them an incentive to even accept Bitcoin in their stores? And there's another question specifically for myself. It's just like in a general sense, I don't find any incentive to accept Bitcoin in a bigger environment of merchants. Like if you are going to accept a drink or small amounts, but what is the incentive for a business to do it in larger amounts?
In the Netherlands, I think they don't really have an incentive other than they like the idea of Bitcoin and they don't like the fiat system, because there's almost no way to compete to the current payment system in the Netherlands, because the really small merchants, they have pretty expensive fiat transactions, up to 2 to 3%. But if you have a large amount of transactions, like the Albertijn, for example, then I don't think Lightning can compete with the cost they have for their transaction. So that's, in that sense, indeed not an incentive for such parties to switch to Bitcoin.
Yeah, because I also think it's it's an extra difficulty level for the companies themselves to just register all that stuff. Yeah. And at the same time, I do feel that there is still too much of a, how do you say, like, you call it a taboo, maybe? Or like if you, like you need to be willing to stick your neck out to accept Bitcoin, because there is a big part of the consumers that if they even see it, they're like, what is this company doing specifically, especially if you're online. Like I've offered that a few times, but never I got a positive reaction back. And like more like a sketch, like, okay, what's this company? Like, why do you even offer this to me? So in my own opinion, I think we first need to lose the whole cash system so that there is an incentive for the customers themselves to be paying in Bitcoin. I'm not sure if you can actually enforce the merchants. I think the merchants are more reactive to what the people are doing.
Yeah, I think the chicken and egg problem. And before I started developing on Lightning, I was also, do I focus on the customer side or do I focus on the merchant side? And I decided to go for the merchant side, to at least enable them to accept Bitcoin once the demand from the customers is there. But yeah, it's still a chicken egg problem.
Yeah. Also, the merchants you can actually contact and you can actually find them. How do you find the people? It's a slow way of finding the big quantities. All right. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
But for instance, you see now that the American exchanges have all implemented Lightning, and it's becoming easier and easier from the app on your phone to actually pay with Lightning.
Yep.
Do you actually see an uptick from there? Because I think you could see where, in that sense, the payment is coming from. If it's coming from Strike, for instance, is that helping already, or is it?
I can't talk for Strike, but I would assume that it would help, but I can't. I don't have figures on that already.
Okay, you can't. You know that. Any other questions? Yeah.
You mentioned that people can also set this up themselves, right? They can spin up an LM-bits, etc. So you make it easier for them to deploy such a solution, but they still need to know things about Bitcoin and how to custody it. So my question was around that. Like you mentioned that you do payouts, I think daily. You have Lightning, but you also accept on-chain, I understand, and that directly goes to the user. So how does it work in both paths? Like on-chain, do they need to provide an XPub, or do they provide a whitelist of addresses from which you pull? And how does it work with Lightning? Do they provide a Lightning address?
Yeah, for the on-chain part, they indeed can provide an XPub, so I'll take a new address every time. And for the Lightning part, we currently use Lightning addresses, and in the future we will use Bolt 12 invoices as well.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you make a small part easier, and especially like integration with Moneybird, I think that's great, but they still might need to be either a Bitcoiner or somebody that can help them out with custodying their funds.
They still have to know some things about Bitcoin indeed. And currently the volume of most of the merchants is pretty low, so the risk there of losing funds is also still pretty low. But I hope that will change in the future. And then education is also key for the merchants. And then we have to cooperate with other parties to make sure they get a decent hardware wallet set up, and they get a nice offboarding flow of from Lightning to their own wallets.
What is the primary purpose of the project? Are you trying to achieving mass adoption, or what's the main purpose of the whole project?
I started Lightning Checkout to increase adoption in general, and to see if I can ever make a living out of it. It would be nice, but first focus on adoption.
Yeah. And what are your goals and ambitions for the next coming 5 years?
I think we are heavily dependent on how the Bitcoin will develop in the future. So we will go with the Bitcoin flow, so to say. So if there are new developments, we will try to integrate it as soon as possible to enable more customers to accept Bitcoin.
Right.
So when Bolt 12?
Yeah, as soon as it's stable, but currently the core Lightning part needs some adoption some changes to be made because of incompatibility issues. So I think there are several issues to be fixed. Yeah.
How long do you expect that it will take?
I hope it will be in the next version, so we can start integrating it afterwards.
Yeah.
So within the upcoming few months, I hope we can.
Yeah, it might be
provide,
already. Okay.
One question. So did it ever happen that also your customers asked for other cryptocurrencies to be implemented, and what was your answer then? I mean, I guess not everyone is doing that differentiation between crypto and Bitcoin.
No, indeed. Some merchants want to accept all cryptocurrencies, and then I say goodbye, look for another party, because we are Bitcoin only. And we will stay that way. But when I try to explain them why we make that decision, then some of them do understand, and some of them think, I will go look for another party.
So all new normal people need to make that differentiation on their own.
Yeah.
As a company, you also make expenses. Are you able to pay a certain amount of that also in Bitcoin?
I'm looking forward. Our services were free up until the start of this month, so I didn't have any income, and I didn't have any Bitcoin income as well. But we are looking now at when we switch to a different data center, then we will definitely take that into account, that we are able to pay with Bitcoin indeed.
So, but you also have a bank account as a company to pay for your expenses.
Yeah.
Do you have some advice how to do that? Because I have a company myself, and I had to go. It took me more than half a year to get a bank account. It's a BV, because I didn't understand what I'm doing, and I didn't cross to the crypto box. But you had to do it. So how was that?
I had already a software company before I started it, so.
Okay, so unfortunately, no advice. Or,
no.
Okay.
Two questions. But first one, do you know Thuisbezorgd at some point also accepted Bitcoin? It was before Lightning, right?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was on chain.
Yeah, it was on chain. Do you know what brand, which provider did that, or did they implement it themselves already?
I think they were using BitPay, eh? Yeah.
BitPay. Oh, does it still exist? BitPay?
Yeah, but
Yes.
you need to KYC fully to order a pizza via them.
Oh, okay,
So.
okay. What would you do if, for example, Thuisbezorgd or I don't know, some big company or whatever, Albert Heijn or something, would want to use your service? How would you approach that?
Yeah, I think we would start with some kind of a pilot to see how the solution behaves, but we did already several events with Bitcoin tops, and then in shorter time a lot of transactions went through, and that all went well. The first time I did an event, I was pretty scared that something went wrong, but now I can rely on the solution, and I know it's working. If I monitor it closely, then yeah, we don't see any spikes in resource usage of the service or on the network or anything else. So I think we could scale quite easily. And then with several pilots for such a company, I think that would be the best approach. Also for them to learn how to learn more about it.
Okay.
We already heard that some people don't like to spend their Bitcoin on a beer or something else, and that some merchants don't like to how do you say it? Say to the outside world that they accept Bitcoin because it could hurt their brand. Recently, Strike, the US company, made a solution where you can pay a Lightning invoice with fiat. Would such a solution maybe be something for scaling up, or would it help with making it more comfortable for people to just spend their cash and instantly exchange it to Lightning? I know Strike is KYC, but maybe there is an opportunity to make it wider available.
Yeah, and you mean then that you have all your funds in Bitcoin and pay with, for example?
I think more interoperability. So if people, as a merchant, you can have an option that people can pay with fiat, but instantly it gets exchanged to Bitcoin. I think only Strike supports that currently, so that then the merchant should already onboard on Strike. So I'm not seeing a real use case in there, but I think it was earlier last week, and you shared the link as well. There is a company now in Europe who is working on a new payment solution where they cut out MasterCard, etc., and do direct bank-to-bank payments. And they had this week they put a proof of concept online where someone with a Bitcoin wallet tapped on just a regular payment terminal, and the Bitcoin invoice was paid, but they didn't provide any details on how it technically working. Okay. But they are at least working on some kind of solution where you have the current payment terminals and you can pay by card or by Bitcoin, for example. So that would be that's something that I'm closely looking on how they are will proceed with that solution. Yeah.
Okay, I think that was the last question. One more question. I see one more. Yeah. What that?
Do you think that Molly or some other big company will ever also implement Lightning Bitcoin? And what does it change the landscape for you then?
I think that in the end they will implement it. I'm not sure when they will do it. Once the adoption is at a certain level, they will. I think they can't other than implement it, because otherwise they will miss the boat, so to say.
Yeah.
But and that will change the landscape definitely. Yeah.
In the core, it's cheaper than the traditional payment systems. So in the end, what you would expect is that everything will move towards a payment layer which is cheaper in every way. So doesn't matter what goes over it. In the future, it will be used. So that's it's just a matter of time in that sense, right? So. Okay, then we conclude today. Next time is not the first Friday of the quarter, but will be the second Friday of the quarter, and that's because of Bitcoin Amsterdam and Bitcoin Antwerp, two conferences that will be there that week. On this Friday, the second Friday of the next quarter, that's in October, then I will interview Wandklu. Wandklu is from Germany. He worked on Open Source Mining United. He built some stuff for the BitX. And then on the Saturday, the day after the interview, we will actually organize a workshop, a beginner workshop in the morning, and then an advanced workshop in the afternoon where actually people will be soldering their own miner together. So check our website if you are willing to join. And it's nice in combination with Bitcoin Amsterdam because that's throughout the week during October. So, and the interview is here and the workshop will be somewhere else. But it can all be found on the meetup. So, Ton, thank you very much for your time. And looking forward to the next 1,000 merchants onboarding. Okay.